Howdy. Welcome back to Dion Talk. Welcome back to Financial Freedom for the Lazy Person. The question is, are you lazy enough to want to make work optional? 10 things I didn't buy and 5 things I did buy in order to retire early, in order to be able to be anywhere I want to be, which is currently Chiang Mai, Thailand. I'm supposed to be in Phuket scuba diving, but the monsoon season here is supposed to end around November. Well, it ended in Chiang Mai and it ended in Bangkok, but it didn't end in Phuket. So I came to Chiang Mai for a few weeks and say lions and tigers and ziplining, oh my. And to get to this point, there are some things I had to do. And most people just think that if you're wealthy, I must have been born with the money. I must have had a really high income. I must have just been lucky, which is Michael Zuber's favorite thing. If you ever meet him in person, just tell him how lucky he is. It'd be a great response. Make sure you put some sarcasm in the tone of your voice. But Dave Ramsey, or the Ramsey Group, did one of the largest studies of millionaires, over 10,000, and found out that around 85 to 88% of them were self-made, meaning around 12% or so, maybe a little more, inherited a significant amount of money, over 500,000, but not enough to retire on. And then the millionaire next door also did a large study on them and had about the same response. Largest study on multimillionaires or millionaires, and over 80% were self-made. So no, it's not that we were born into it. I inherited a Remington 12-gauge shotgun, bolt action, and a Ruger Blackhawk 44 Magnum from my mom, who weighed about 97 pounds. That was my inheritance. Most of my life, I never made more than $60,000. Until the last like 2, maybe 3 years of working at my job, when they realized my rental income was more than my work income, they thought maybe if we pay him more, we'll keep him around, which worked for a little bit. But time freedom won out in 2022 and I retired early. Been retired for 3 years now. Spent the spring in Portugal. Summer we went to Yellowstone. Don't recommend. It was a letdown. And then I'm spending the winter in Thailand. I live in the Pacific Northwest. I really like to be there in the spring and the summer as much as I can because it's beautiful there, but not so much in the winter where it rains like it is in Phuket right now. So, trigger warning. I am not talking about these 10 things in order to judge you because I spent most of my life doing the same thing. It was around 40 after getting laid off from law enforcement because of the 2008 housing crash. Single parent with 3 kids, found a job making $17 an hour as a truck driver, found out about $89,000 in bad debt in my name I didn't know existed until the divorce. Yay, divorce. It's fun. Good times. Still never met anybody whose life didn't get better after the divorce, though. What I figured out is that the difference between the rich, the poor, and the middle class isn't how much they have or how much they make. Most people think it's that you have to have a high income or you have to inherit a bunch. No, it's what you think the purpose of money is. Right? The purpose of money to a poor person is to survive, to buy things. If you want more things, you work more hours. The purpose of money for a middle class person is leverage. You want a big house, you get a big mortgage. You want a nice car, you get a good car payment. Work on your credit score so you can finance the things so you look fancy to everybody else. But the purpose of money that I decided what the wealthy people think money is for is to make more money. So I started putting money to work. So it's not that we can have the same income. You could have been making $40,000 or $50,000 a year with overtime just like I was, or you could be now. You have different choices, different outcomes. So maybe you want to make some of the same choices that I did. So this is the 10 things. The first thing that I didn't waste money on was impressing other people. Like when I was broke and as a multimillionaire, I wear TV show t-shirts. This is from Lost. It's my favorite shirt to wear when I fly across the Pacific because it's got the Lost numbers on the back. Usually only the TSA agents get the joke. But looking successful or trying to look successful is usually what keeps people working because success is a prison. I've got a friend who can retire at 55. He's hitting 55. He's going to have a pension. And his wife, right to all of us, said he's not going to retire at 55. He needs to be doing something. I thought, how sad is it that to be doing something means you have to be paid for it? If you are more worried about strangers thinking you're rich, you never will be. The second thing that I didn't waste money on in order to be able to retire early after about a decade of investing. That's the whole purpose of my content, is to help the average individual understand that you can reach financial freedom in a decade or less, even if you're not starting from the best position. I didn't, haven't, since 40, I've never had a car payment. Not one. So from 40 to 48, I had a 17 and a 19-year-old Jeep Wrangler and Jeep Cherokee. Similar enough to use parts on to keep one of them running well enough to get me to work. Mostly safe. At 48, I started getting into the fancier cars, right? Kind of went through my midlife crisis of I want a bunch of things that look really nice to drive because I wanted the comfort because, yes, I had reached financial freedom. I didn't retire early yet. I was living off my portfolio. So I started purchasing cars cash, all cash or old. Still haven't gone the new-ish. Yeah, I've never gone new with payment. Don't know that I ever will. But imagine this. If your car payment lasts longer than your relationships, there's a reason why you're still working. Rich people chase the right kind of depreciation. Cars depreciate in value. Rental properties, whether they go up or down in value, we get to depreciate the cost of the buildings over 27 and a half years in order to do things like I did last year and have over $240,000 in actual profit after everything, and after setting aside $60,000 for repairs, maintenance, and vacancy. $240,000 in profit, zero taxes because of depreciation. But not the kind of depreciation on a car with a car payment. That's stupid depreciation. People finance the new car smell. Think about that. The fourth thing, you have to give up convenience. The fourth thing that you shouldn't pay for, that I'd stopped paying for at 40 to 50 to be able to retire early, was convenience. Do you know how many people I worked with at work where every day their argument was, what are we having for lunch? I know that's normal in almost every company. But then they add DoorDash or some food delivery, or they pay one of the office staff more than their lunch because they're making the food run, or they buy their lunch because they're making the food run, turning an everyday event of lunch that could be somewhere between $5 and $10 or meal prepped into a $30 event minimum every single day. And then I see them doing it at home. So it's not even just the work days. So daily takeout, daily lattes. How many times we had spilled lattes in company vehicles? Money leaks in small habits, not big catastrophes. It's the little things you don't pay attention to. What are you spending money on every day that you could plan a little bit around? What are you going to eat? Where are you going to get it from? Maybe bring it with you. You don't do this forever. It's for now. Yeah, that would suck for a little bit at work. So I had a decade where a bunch of people ate stuff and I'd be eating the cheaper food, getting laughed at because I'm the boss. I've been demoted down to president of the company and I'm not spending $30 a day on lunch. But now I'm in a country where I don't know if I've seen a $30 meal yet. We went to a steakhouse, porterhouses, drinks, appetizers, salads, dessert, because I'm a fat kid, $12. Maybe come to Chiang Mai. But you don't get here by spending that much money on food while you're in growth mode. This is my favorite for a lot of friends who I've watched them do it. Actually, it's the same person whose spouse had told him he can't retire at 55. But constant home upgrades. The middle class remodels their prison. The wealthy remodel their net worth. Yay, spam call. Don't remodel your prison. Do you need a fancy gazebo at your house? Do you need an overlook cemented backyard with the hot tub and all this stuff while you have to work to make the payments? Or might you get to the point where your rentals give you a couple $100,000 a year in profit and you live on maybe 40 if you try? It's about 4,000 a month. What's that? 4, 12, 48,000, $50,000 a year, giving you close to $200,000 a year to then splurge on remodeling crap if you want to. But you don't get there if you do it in growth mode. And the other one, this is number 6 of 10, is credit cards. In my entire life, I've never used a credit card and carried a balance. Now, at the point of divorce, I found out the royal we, 401k, had a whole bunch of credit cards that had somehow been rolled into $313,000 in debt that I negotiated with creditors down to $89,000 that I ultimately paid off. So yeah, I never created credit card debt. And once I found out about it, I came up with a plan. I've made several videos about it on how to get rid of debt and how to invest, sometimes at the same time. But if you're carrying a credit card balance, even if it's just zero interest and you're thinking, well, I'll pay it off later. You're buying more than you can afford. That's why you have a balance that you haven't paid off. Or if you're paying interest, right? There's two types of people when it comes to interest, the people who understand it and the people who pay it. So credit card debt is financial diabetes. Most people don't notice it until they're crippled by it. They get those amputees going on. I use credit cards for cash back. Chesley uses credit cards for points and upgrade to first class and free flight when we take our trips. She went to Scotland last year, and we're maybe going to Scotland this year if she talks me into it. I don't want to go. We'll see. The squirrel ran away with the emperor's groove. Smart. There are Dave Ramsey people who, if you are not smart or good with credit cards, cut them up, get rid of them. Totally agree. If you have discipline and you know yourself, I know thyself, I use them all the time, never carry a balance. I don't even carry a balance day to day. I use a credit card, paid off that day. My memory is not good enough to remember what day of the month to make a payment, and I don't want an automated one. I want it every time, every day when I wake up, there is zero balance on my credit card. It's tied to my banking app. How much does it take to go in there and just get the dopamine hit of rent checks hitting my account? But number 7, this goes back to my shirt. The 7th thing of 10 that you shouldn't buy, shouldn't waste money on if you want to retire early, is name brand everything. Name brand doesn't mean quality. Name brand means marketing plan. There is good quality stuff that doesn't have a fancy name brand. You might have to track it down. You might have to hunt a little. Rich isn't about Gucci. Rich is about wealthy. And wealth isn't an amount of money. It's a mathematical equation of months of life. How many months of your life will you survive if you stopped working? If your assets are producing more cash flow than you spend, that's perpetual. That's real wealth. If you ask somebody what rich looks like, what they tell me will tell me if they're ever going to be rich. If they say rich looks like Bentley, rich looks like Gucci, rich looks like whatever, they're never going to be rich. If rich looks like doesn't have to work, has all the time, has the money to do what they want, without needing the things to say, I'm rich, because rich people don't do that. The poor person, the middle-class person describes items. The wealthy person describes time. Number 8. That's funny. This is number 8. I wonder if I did it on purpose. But the 8th thing of 10 that I avoided, 10 things not to waste money on to be able to retire early, that you should focus on, is I went 8 years without a vacation to escape life. Maybe build a life you don't have to escape. So that if you focus for those 8 years, maybe it's less, maybe it's more, depending on your situation. I hope that most people are in a better situation than I was. Maybe you're making more than $17 an hour. Maybe you're not a single parent with 3 kids. Maybe you don't have a bunch of bad debt you didn't create. Maybe you didn't start when you were 40. Like, you got a couple things that might lean in your favor. But if you can go a few years without the $15,000 Disneyland trip to Japan, to Florida, that each one of those times could have been a down payment on a duplex. Not that my son would make it ever this far into a video, but look forward to that text message. But if you need a vacation to escape your life, maybe the life needs fixing, not the location. So that when you are retired early and people say, oh, are you taking a vacation to Thailand? No. A vacation is like 2 weeks away from a job that you probably hate, away from people that you tolerate for pay. I'm here for 3 months because that's the random number that I picked, which is already too long for the visa. So I have to apply for a visa extension. And I might just take another trip to another country to restart my 60-day limit on visa here. We'll see. It's not a vacation. It's not even a trip. This is home for 3 months. The 9th thing, for the signers out there, the 9th thing that you should not spend money on, not waste money on. Be careful on YouTube University. Get rich quick schemes. Because I guarantee what I teach is a get rich quick scheme. You just have to understand that 10 years is quick. Everybody's looking for these shortcuts, right? Don't build shortcuts, build skills, build systems. Don't get that shiny object syndrome. Oh, and the 10th one, which is a lot harder now because of so-so media. It used to be keeping up with the Joneses would be you looked across the street, you saw that your neighbor's got a new car. Your neighbor's just got back from another vacation. Now it's Instagram with somebody that you met on a event 4 years ago, or your Uber driver from 6 years ago that you talked to for 10 minutes, that you see on Instagram, that you see on the Book of Faces, that whatever you see on TikTok, the people living this life of massive debt to look wealthy. We're not keeping up with our neighbors anymore who generally live in the same market as us, generally have the same incomes as us, ish, have the same expenses, same cost of living. We're now keeping up with people who have Seattle income but have a remote job and live in Corpus Christi, which sounds like a real place. Keeping up with social media is not possible. If you delay that for the decade, and then you can have a social media life where you're not bragging, where you're actually just sharing a life that is so much better than you ever thought it would be, that you're just hoping that you don't make someone jealous so they try to keep up with you, but you make somebody, it's too strong a word, envious so that they take action. Put in the comments, is there anybody who would like to just go spin the globe, hit a country that has what you're looking for? I have two criteria. That you find a country and you go, I'm going to go there for 3 months. Maybe you'll stay longer. If it wasn't for the one rental at a time event in February, I'm not sure I'd be coming back until the winter was over. But because of that, I flew from Seattle to Thailand. I will fly from Thailand to the one rental at a time event. And then I'm going to have to choose where I want to go. I don't have a home ticket yet. Probably be home. Maybe. We'll see. Maybe it'll be the next home for a few months. That's the life I'm trying to get you to go. I would really like to have that. And maybe you go, I'm going to stay home for 3 months and have a staycation life. And then you just love where you live. That's fine too. Don't play the status game. Play the freedom game. So what do we do? These are all the don'ts, right? Usually it's a video of here's 10 don'ts. But I'm going to put in 5 do's. First one, the one that set me free, the one that's letting me be here right now, the one that I started focusing on and still own, cash flowing assets. You can buy dividend stocks. You can invest in a portfolio, focus on the 4% rule. You can watch Coach Nicholas Massey and do dollar cost averaging or whatever strategy he's using into crypto. Buy the dip. It just went down like 20%, right? So that's a massive buying opportunity if you're in his school of thought. It could be real estate like mine. I went with long-term fixed rate debt, small multifamily, as similar to a single family house as possible. So I have the least amount of tenant turnover. It takes me about 2 hours a month to manage my 18 rental units that produces the cash flow that I have and own it long-term. Cash flowing assets where depreciation is my friend, not the thing that makes my car cost less as soon as you drive it off the lot. With all the tax benefits and the income. I've never made a video of this because I would look like a giddy little kid. I don't know how many times I've used that word in a sentence, but just calculate what the appreciation was in a quarter, what the principal pay down was in a quarter, what the cash flow was in a quarter, and think, I didn't currently work for any of that. All the work was front loaded. I had that decade of, 40 to 60 hour work weeks and then 10 plus hours on rentals for a decade to get to the point where it is systems that run it. I'm not doing the day to day. I haven't had to go to a rental in years now, over 7 years, I think. But it took a while to get there. The second thing that I do spend money on, did spend money on, and probably will continue to spend money on is skills building and education. If you don't have YouTube Premium, I think you might be choosing to be poor. This is an expense where you eliminate the one thing that one of the main things I've eliminated from my life. It wasn't even in my top 10 because it just seems so second nature to me. I haven't watched a commercial in 20 plus years, and I won't. A commercial is somebody with a master's degree in marketing and decades of experience on sound, tone, lighting, triggering, death, sex, or whatever makes you buy to make you go, this is how you look at commercials. I have never heard of that thing before in my life, but I don't think I can live without it. Don't do that. It's not even the frustration of having to hit the skip button or hit the volume or wondering why the volume on a commercial is so freaking loud and your volume isn't. Eliminate the commercials. Skill building, YouTube University, uh, courses, taking courses. There's a lot of free courses out there. There's a lot of courses where you can meet somebody like the lumberjack landlord, and his information can make you take tenant turnover and turn it into the frustration of finding a tenant to filtering through the demand. Like there are good courses out there. Don't go spend 12 grand on a weekend. You'd be better off throwing $12,000 at a down payment on a bad deal, losing it all. You'd learn more. But a couple $100 to learn the next skill, people think that that's a ripoff or that's a guru. But you'll put $20,000 into a semester at a college that's just indoctrinating you to hate your country. Find the skills and education, not the degree to get a boss. Get the education to lose your boss. School, one rental at a time. Be in those meetups. It's over 500 people, like-minded people. SKOOL. Michael Zuber's one rental at a time. School, community. Stop doom scrolling. Start learn scrolling. The third thing that you focus on, especially if you're going to retire early, is health and longevity. Get your doctor checked up, Tim, get your blood tested, eat a lot healthier than I do. I continue to work out, and I have a minimum standard I like to maintain. It's weird to say this in a video. I don't know if I'd say this very early in a video, but I'm actually kind of glad that I'm a chubby guy now. I've been a Marine and a cop, and I've had jobs where you had physical fitness standards. And yeah, you see the donut cop jokes all the time, and you see a cop in a vest, and you think, oh, that guy's fat, and you realize he's more ripped than you are. I'm glad to be in a position right now where my job doesn't force me to be in a physical fitness loop. But if you can retire early, think about how much better your life is if you can enjoy it. If you can go for a hike, if you can walk around Old Town Chiang Mai and not have to jump in a tuk-tuk because you're out of breath, if you can actually just walk 5, 7, 8 miles in a day like it's nothing, that's where you should be. So pay attention to your health. The fourth thing that I did start buying as I was working towards financial freedom, it's very important, is time. Most people don't think about the fact that you can buy time. Some people will quantify it as, I make $50 an hour and I can pay somebody $20 an hour to mow the lawn. So I'm going to hire somebody to mow my lawn. But then they're in there watching Netflix while somebody's mowing the lawn. Like, I get the idea of your time is more valuable than mowing the lawn, but are you doing something more valuable with your time? I am. I hire somebody to do the lawn at the place where I live because I want to goof off. That's what I do in financial freedom. That is not what I did. That is not what I did to get here. Not only did I mow where I lived, but my fourplex where I have a lawn care service do it, I mowed that too. To get there, build systems that buy back time. Actually think, how much time can you save if you meal prep the week? Not only you're not doing the DoorDash, but you've saved the time every day. You grab the meal that's prepped to take. The fifth thing, and this one takes a while to figure out. I think there might be some YouTube channels out there on how to do this, but build the relationships and experiences in order to reach financial freedom. And sort of, we say the things all the time. You become the average of the 5 people that you hang out with the most, right? And that includes your phone. When you're doom scrolling, that's one of the 5 people you're hanging out with the most. I'm stealing that from Michael Zuber. That's a Zuberism. But the people that I hung out with before reaching financial freedom were fairly successful. They had decent jobs. They They all owned $140,000 RVs with a $90,000 truck to tow it around with. They all worked 60 hours a week. They were highly productive. They enjoyed their weekends. They were the work hard, play hard kind of people. They had Sea-Doos, Bombardier jet skis, jet boats. They are working for their lifestyle and will work into their 60s or 70s. That's who I was around the most. The most people I hung around outside of work. People I worked with, they were just workers. The most of them didn't even contribute to the 401k. They weren't even thinking retirement at all, let alone financial freedom or retiring early. So I had to find the people online. I had to listen to enough Graham, Stephan, Meet, Kevin, early stuff, not the current stuff. I still listen to Graham sometimes when he comes out with a finance related video. The Kiyosaki's, the Ken McElroy's. I watch Ken McElroy and his wife Danielle all the time. They do a video every Monday. The topics I cover are great. I'm still educating myself. I'm hanging out in YouTube University to then eventually make friends like Frank and Cynthia or Josh, Ryan, like all these people that I've met through YouTube. Not even taking out the people who have the YouTube channels like Millennial Mike, the Lumberjack Landlord, Michael Zuber, the people that I'm in text group with. So when I have a question like, I don't know, if I'm in a place and I'm doing something that somebody doesn't know about, what's a good amount of money to spend? I don't know. But you can put it in that group chat. You can change who you're hanging out with without changing who you're hanging out with. You don't need rich parents. You don't need to make six figures. And you don't need luck. Defining luck as preparation meeting opportunity means you need to be prepared. It's the end of the intro to this video. I didn't record it. This will never be a separate video on its own. This was a list of the 10 do's and the 5 don'ts. That was backwards. It's 7:30 in the morning. I just got back to the room, so I give myself a pass on that. The 10 don'ts and the 5 do's. Now we're going to get to the questions. The rest of this is going to be dedicated to answering your questions. The intro was intended to be 10 minutes long. We hit 27. How was that? Hopefully I'm not going to look at the comments and see 50 people saying your sound's not working. Glad to see everybody here. Howdy, everybody. Remember, there's a course call tonight at 6 p.m. Members only this weekend. Martin Properties, what's up? Everyone about to join. Nice. There you go. Martin Properties, I'm making you want to spend money. Spend it on the right things so you can spend it on any things. Nice. Chester, good to see you. Jason. Jay Mullis, investor average. Nice. We are average. All you have to be is average, but you have to be the average in the right direction. Buzz Tune, Mikey, howdy. Jasic, hello. All Night Hider, the cattle rustler. My 7:30 Zuber alarm's going off. I don't think that's the time right now. Cattle rustler, nice. Invest average. What language do you speak? I speak English very bad. Ik spreek een beetje Nederlands, maar ik spreek het niet zo goed. Yo hablo español. I studied Thai the first time I came here, and that was a mistake. So I know how to say thank you, hello, excuse me, I'm sorry, goodbye in Thai. But I didn't take the time to learn the language this time because everyone speaks English that I encounter here. Got a friend of mine punched for learning Dutch, though. A little bit of Russian, sign language, but none of them very well, not even English. If you read my book, you know that my English is not that great, which is Financial Freedom for the Lazy Person, available on Amazon. Deconstructing Dreams, howdy. YH, glad I caught this live stream. Glad you're here too. Hopefully you got a question that I can answer. Tiger Investor, going to probably see the Tigers tomorrow. Good to see you last week, although we were treated by Mike's presence. You were missed. Appreciate it. I watched what Zuber did. It was a great live stream. There was some great questions. I hope that there was some questions like that this week. It's nice of him to step in. I'm sad Matt didn't make it, but we see that. Howdy, Chester. Rob, part of Dion's motivation was to retire is to beat Matt to the punch. That was part of the same reason. Part of the same reason Zuber moved to Vegas. Matt is a motivator. It's very nice to see Matt motivating. Looking for the chat here because it moves. Financial firefighter. Aloha. Friendly competition. The motivator. I'll go with the motivator. Hi there. Did you hear about Mikey from Fish and Sips? I have not heard. You know, Ryan, they got some good fishing here in Thailand. You should come take a lot of commercial ships. Uh, those temples in Chiang Mai look amazing. There is a temple directly behind me. The hotel actually has its own temple and its own museum, which is great. You go in the museum here, I'd give these people a shout out. It's a great hotel. Give them a 5-star review on Google. I don't remember the name. It's long. I got a picture of it. I'm gonna look up the picture really quick so I can give them a shout out. But in their museum, and whenever you go into the temples or the museums here, you want to be respectful, hat off, shoes off. Don't take pictures inside museums. I mean, at least I'm not. You probably can. But it's their culture. It's not your fun event. Where did the picture of the hotel go? So I could say that. It is called, oh, I'm never going to say it right. Like cod, like the fish, K. Cod Chasri Thani. I did not say that right. But in their museum, you look and it looks like they have literally 12th century dental tools next to pottery. And then you turn around and there's like 1950s gumball machines. Because that's coming up on 100 years ago-ish. Was not expecting that. But the monasteries are really cool. It's interesting. I went to, it's called the Ancient City in Bangkok, and it's a 200-acre outdoor museum built in the shape of the country with the major things that you can see in different parts of the country rebuilt in there. Interesting. The monks are everywhere. They're interesting. A couple things with Thai land and the flip you off thing in the United States is the middle finger. The flip you off thing here is pointing the bottom of your feet at somebody. So don't do that. Keep your feet, bottom feet anybody. Don't touch kids on the head. Bad luck or something like that. Shoes come off in a lot of places. Trying to think of what other interesting things. That the plumbing is a lot like Colombia. So bring toilet paper with you everywhere you go, because a lot of places just don't have it and you just wash, I guess. I don't know. The dollar goes really far here. It's like 31 or 32 baht to the dollar. There's a massive amount of inflation, which I thought was real, but it's not. Massages when I came last time was $6 for an hour. Now it's $9 for an hour. But then I found out that the place that I found last time is still $6 an hour. So inflation's not a thing here. And we're talking years ago now. All night or harder. Yeah, my heart has been broken. He and Frau looks like he heard something negative about somebody. I'll have to look that up. It's not good. Investor, how can I find your video on how to set rents? It's called Setting Rents in a Hot Market. How do I search your YouTube videos? And so I would go Setting Rents in a Hot Market, Dion Talk, and that pops up as the top one on the list. Cracked Canvas, howdy. What's up, all? Happy Thanksgiving to all and holidays. Is that today? That's not today. It's Thursday. It's Wednesday where I'm at. So it's tomorrow for me. Happy Thanksgiving. I see the financial firefighter stole my Facebook post and made a video about it. If you don't know what enough is, you will build a cage called success or something like that. Good video, Mark. I watched it this morning. Everything's giving. Soon enough, every day will be paid a holiday off. Just keep watching Dion and read his book. There you go. Audiobook is done recording. I can play some of it if you want. But audiobook is done recording. Now it's just fighting ACX to get it uploaded and released, which has to follow the Kindle version first. So working on it. Deconstructing dreams. One divorce reset was a bankruptcy. Another divorce reset got the IRS chasing me, threatening to put me in jail if I didn't pay them. So no, it wasn't better, but it did make me very resilient. So it didn't make you financially better, but your life. Remember, a divorce is never a good marriage ending. It is a bad marriage ending. The IRS was going to chase you whether you had the divorce or not. The bankruptcy was going to happen whether you had the divorce or not. But at least now you've escaped the toxic side of the relationship. Brian, howdy. Rob, there you go. Dungeon Dojo. You did the comparison of two properties for me a couple of weeks ago. The one property Most seem to prefer just did 100K price drop today. What kind of disrespectful offer would you make? It would depend on how many days on market. It's 100,000. What number did we come up in the members only where we did the comparison where it made sense? And if I remember right, that was the one where it would just had two properties. It was the one that didn't look as good because they took the picture at the wrong time of year, I think. Uh, the $100,000 drop, probably give it 3 days. I'd have to look at the numbers again, but I'd go 80% of that probably because it was on the market a while. Yeah, because asking price was a made up number that them and the agent thought of at first. That meant nothing. What number made sense at the cash flow you think you'll get? Rob, money always leaks from small things. Children, wives, dogs. Exactly. Stupid rings. All-nighter hider. As a broke man, I spent too much on food while sitting right next to Dion. That is accurate. Should have got an appetizer. I say I did it all the time when I was in growth mode. Flavio, howdy. Grandview, nice to see you here. Brian, good evening from Montgomery, Alabama. That sounds like a real place too. Sean, howdy. Anna K, good to see you here. Enjoying the blue ocean. No, I'm in Chiang Mai. It is raining in Phuket. It's down to 35%, but it was like 100% when I first got here. So I changed my plans a little bit, went to Chiang Mai to get some of those things done. Chiang Mai's got some great things to do here. Phuket's where we're going next Thursday. So next Thursday to the blue ocean. Ryan, I carried a balance a few times while in Arkansas. Thankfully, the invest I paid was around $2 to $3. There you go. Sometimes we do what we have to. The steakhouse in Gary was really fun with a waitress. That was a nice night. Still have the pictures. Techie turned investor. Howdy. For a second, I thought it said Trekkie turned investor. And I was like, oh, well, they did eliminate money. Dividend Dave. Howdy. Price is what's paid, quality is what's received if the product is inspected. Was actually going to use that, Ryan, but I heard that sentence in the Jason Hartman, Michael Zuber video yesterday, and I was like, oh, that's a little direct right after. So I filed it away as things to remember, but I take what makes sense. I try not to just copy and take credit. Whenever possible, I try to give credit for whoever thought of something. I don't always remember. Josh, this poor guy is making a burger on wheat bread because he didn't want to buy buns. Every penny counts. It absolutely does. Congratulations on your recent use of the binder strategy, which ended with you having a happy tenant, a rent increase, and a happy tenant. Good stuff. Ryan, I don't think I've ever bought buns. I'm a huge multi-purpose fan. There you go. Dad joke time, exactly. Rob, what if we need a vacation to escape a renovation? Well, as the lazy investor, we should not be doing the renovation. We should be hiring it to be done. Or we should not be doing renovations whenever possible. Although you make more money than I do when you do a renovation. I just try not to do them. And what was the quote? No one needs a vacation as much as somebody who just returned from one. Dan, spent the last month hanging doors, painting, cleaning a unit that was $1,000 under market. Lease with a new tenant signed today. Feels so good. I bet. Congratulations. That's a great feeling. I do enjoy a tenant staying in place, binder strategy, getting a reasonable rent increase, being below area market, having a happy tenant, but I also like the money. And when you have a tenant turnover and you put the sweat equity into it, whether you do it or you hire it done, I've done both. That's a good feeling. Congratulations. Right. Your mom never bought you buns. Always use bread. It's normal for me. We never really went to stores much. We grew our food. We did go to swap meets and it's not a farmer's market. There's some other term for it. Investors average. Thank you for all you do. Thank you for hanging out with me. I appreciate it. Corpus Christi is real. I know I think I said it early in the video. Corpus Christi. I did use Corpus Christi. Yeah. It's a real place. I'm sorry. Investor average. That is one of my constant or dad jokes my kids had to grow up with. Every time I heard a place anywhere, like I'm in Chiang Mai, Thailand, which sounds like a real place. I'm in it. I'll still say sounds like a real place. Can't break the habit. I've got skills, real estate, photography skills, flipping sweet ones. Hola. Howdy. It is nice. That's a good skill to have. Then you got to build the network of people who hire you. That's good. Jason, you would love to hire a lot. Well, let's get you here. Imagine if you spent 3 months in Thailand and we just overlapped a little bit so we can hang out some. That'd be cool. Howdy. It's Ryan's goal too. Did you get your units in Gary operational? I'll have to see. Really does, Jason, just having the option to travel and keep traveling without a set schedule. The closest that we can put to words is when you had the break between, if you had a summer vacation, if you didn't go to year-round school, if you had that summer vacation, you have about 3 months to goof off and do whatever. But that still has a ticking time clock. And when you graduate high school and you have like, okay, I got to go to college, I got to get a job, I got to go to military, I got something, there's still time running out. But this is like a life sentence. Like the way you would exist in prison if you went for 3 months or 4 years is very different than if this was a life sentence. You would figure out in that permanent state what matters to you. And when you can travel anywhere and you don't have a return time and you pretty much don't have to worry about your budget, hard to turn that part of the brain off. Like when you realize what 314,000 baht actually is when you convert that to dollars. Don't buy a ring. Did you buy a custom tuk-tuk yet? I have not bought a custom, but we've taken several tuk-tuk rides. Hire them, tell them to be at a certain point, certain time, and then pay them. You can hire them like a taxi, say, take me there. But it's better if you negotiate a per hour baht charge. I mean, 300 baht an hour is fair, and then you're going to do a tip, of course. And then you just hire them for however long. They hang out where you go to. So go to the market, go pet the tigers, go wherever ethical thing that you want to go do, mostly legal thing you want to go do, and then we'll take you back. There are still rickshaws here too. Haven't done that yet. I don't mind sitting on a motorized thing while somebody else does it. I don't know how I feel about sitting behind a bicycle. Somehow we didn't get my ticket bought. Melania, Mike, and I typed in the info, but it didn't take. Next flight is bought and paid for this December 9th to 12th. Nice. There you go. Chester's daily dad joke. I appreciate it. I used to be addicted to soap, but I'm clean now. I like it. Still up for grabs on your eviction with the seasonal moratorium carry employees. Weird. And then my chat moved, but I saw a green thing that's easy to find. Easier to conceal your protection. There you go. When you go anywhere in the US, if you're not armed, you are the problem. CDU equals retirement, more or less. There you go. The retirement mentality. Howdy. Welcome to thank you, Jason. Thank you for the first time making it to a live. This is what I look like. Sorry, I'm not better looking and more funny. Jason, I have to miss the course call today because Bright Investors thing the next 5 weeks on Tuesdays after this. I'm trying to make sure every Tuesday I'm at a place that has Wi-Fi. There's a lot of the places I'm going to, no electricity sometimes. Kenya needed this tonight. Howdy, good to see you here. Omid, do you usually do descaling on drains for older homes as a preventative measure? How about cleaning chimney? So chimney cleaning, chimney sweep, that's requirement every couple of years or whatever your local laws. I board off chimneys to where they're not usable. Put in baseboard or cadet heaters. I live in Washington. You might live in an area where, Siberia, where you die if you get locked out of your house, like where Matt invests. Then you might have to have those kind of things as an option. Descaling on drains, never heard of it, never done it. Preventative measure, what do I do? Nope, just in Washington, we put the styrofoam cover on faucets on the exterior. Septic draining. There's really not that much preventative with plumbing for us, for me at least. Jason, do you wear socks or barefoot when you have to take your shoes off everywhere? Pretty much barefoot, because I am a Keen's guy. Keen's, $100 shoe, okay, other mistake in Thailand. Apple Watch, don't do that. Keen's, don't do that. It just says, I have a pocket full of bot, and if you sell me something, you can have it. So careful with that. Don't try to look wealthy. Um, but yeah, no, it's just a barefoot country. Most people are barefoot everywhere. Most people wear sandals. It's a lot of beach country. Um, and while it is so, like currently it's raining in Phuket, so I'm in Chiang Mai, Jason, but it's 80 degrees in Phuket. So it's not like you're cold and wet, you're just wet. Oh man, what about knob and tube? Do you remove them permanently? So I have one place that has knob and tube in it. It's there, it's not hooked up. Wiring was so my prerequisite to buy a place would be how much would it cost to replace the knob and tube, or when was renovations done or updates done before I bought it, and that was all replaced. So my insurance, I've never had to fight an insurance company and say knob and tube is safe. I would just get rid of it. So I don't have it in any of mine. I would price in the cost of the purchase to get rid of the knob and tube. North Texas Farrier. Howdy. Uh, Good to see you here. Can't wait for the audiobook so I can listen while I work. I'm looking forward to it. Got it. Like I said, recording's done. Uh, Now I got to fight. What ACX is this Audible thing that goes through all the settings of every possible thing, how much room sound there is at the beginning and the end of every section or chapter, your peaks, your spikes, your room can't be too quiet. Like I'll be fighting that now. Dungeon Dojo. It was the greener one that, yeah. Oh, that one, the one that was much nicer with like 5 places. 385, cash flow at 485. Now, definitely cash flow you'd offer it. No. If a cash flow at 485, they've taken 100,000 off. I'd reach out and go, what is the red flag? Why is have my agent ask, or you ask if you're talking to their agent, why is it not selling? And it might be unpermitted, septic issue, might be something you have to solve. That might change the amount of price. But if they just need to sell and it dropped off and it cash flowed at the one it was at, what's wrong with an asking price offer? I know everybody's like, oh, I got to save money on the offer. No, I want to get the cash flow. And how will you feel if you go, I'm going to make an 80% offer and somebody else makes an asking price offer? And who you think they're going to go with? Find out what the red flag is for here, though. It's raining there too, Martin. That is why I'm here. That's why I'm in Chiang Mai. That's why I haven't seen rain since I got here because it changed the direction we were going. User, howdy, from Long Beach, California. Howdy. Oh man, how do you make sure seller's finance offer is properly pitched to the sellers when you do it through the seller's agent? I think sellers often need to be educated about the benefit of it. The most important thing when you're making a seller financing pitch to a seller is that the listing agent understands they're going to get paid. Clearly say, this is the amount of my down payment that is your commission, so that they're not motivated to take someone else's because they think they'll make $50 more by going, or having a bank loan do it, because then title cuts the money. Just clearly communicate and going, look, I'm going to make sure that my down payment includes the down payment that they need to either take care of the debt that they need, buy the thing that they're looking for, get the amount that they want, and cover commissions. And then here's the rest of my offer. Make sure they're on board with you making the offer. What bank do you use for your rentals? Do you recommend Baselane? I use Hemlane for my property management software for the properties that have switched over to it. If that's what Baselane is, I don't know. I do all my banking through Bank of America because I use the region beta paradox. I do not want a high interest savings account. I want a low interest savings account. And I want one of the large banks. A lot of people are like, I use a local bank. No, I want a large bank because I travel so much. I need everything to be online. Credit unions, local banks, they don't have a big enough web presence. I have an app where I have the credit card, the bank, everything updates. I spend the money within 10 seconds. It hits my app. I know exactly what's going on in my account. And I'm not trying to earn interest on my money. As my money is piling up, which it is in my savings account, somewhere between 10 and $17,000 a month gets into that account that I don't use, that goes into the next investment probably. Even though I'm in retirement, I'll still buy something. I don't want it earning interest. The region beta paradox means you're more likely to do something that is easier, because it takes too long to explain. I have to make a whole video on that. But if my money is not earning interest in my bank, my lizard brain is going to say that is not producing anything. We should buy the next property and put it to work. But if I had an interest account right now, I'm earning 4%, I could sit back and go, hey, that $720 a month now, that would be pretty nice to be getting. That's pretty cool. Why buy a rental when I could just have it sit in the bank, nice and safe, with no tenants, toilets, or termites to tell me what to do and get $700 a month? No, I'm going to go buy the rental because maybe I only get $500 a month in cash flow per unit. Appreciation on 4 times what I invested, depreciation on 4 times what I invested. The tenants will pay off the loan, like all of the benefits, not just what the money that's going to come from. So I use a large bank, but I don't get any of my loans through Bank of America, right? I shop Wells Fargo or Chase to get qualified. And then when I go into contract, I go out and I hit Fairway Mortgage, Guild Mortgage, a mortgage broker, and I see who's got the best deal. And I make them compete with each other. When you have 10 or less mortgages in your name, which I do, I have 6, and I have 8 properties. 2 are paid off, 6 have mortgages. 10 or less, I do not want my lenders to be my friends. I want them to know I compete rates every time, and no matter what, they're going to have to earn my business. Now, Matt, the lumberjack landlord, has more. He hit his 10 limit. He's got 150 units on like 50 buildings or something, or on 50 properties, whatever the numbers are. He has a relationship with his bank, and they make financial, whatever you call it, products for him. So we're different and both right. I want them competing. He wants a relationship. So know what point you're at. In the book and on YouTube, I have a video on how to get the best interest rates. There's a chapter or a section. Duke Gidman, howdy. Do you have any experience with Rent Ready? I do not. I'm thinking about using it to self-manage my rental, pros and cons. I went with Hemlane, and here's the reason. So I've looked at a couple of other ones, Stessa and a few others. They didn't have the tiered system that Hemlane did. So Dana, the CEO of Hemlane, comes on every now and then. And she talks about her product and will answer questions. And she has access to a lot of data that I don't have. So I like it when she comes on. But the reason I use it is I use the cheap version. And I'm upfront with her. I'm just using the cheap version because most of my tenants that I deal with, I handle everything. Text, emails, whatever. I got handyman in place. But right now, if I have a tenant move out and I need a leasing agent to go and show a property or sign a lease or anything like that, for this month on that property, not all of them, I will step up to the tier of having a leasing agent to take care of that, meaning I can be here and sleep like a baby. Now, I don't want a tenant turnover while I'm here or while I'm at home. I'll benefit from it if it happens, but I'm comfortable that if it happens, I have a system in place to handle it. So compare the two, do some research, ask people that have used both, get into a local real estate meetup group. I know the lumberjack landlord doesn't like Hemlane because he has such a huge portfolio. He needs what's called a back end for data, and I don't. I have one spreadsheet with a tab for income and a tab for expenses, and I send that to the CPA. And that's it. Me and the CPA built it together. I give it away for free in the free binder course. You can go to the diontalk.com. There's a free binder course inside that. You could download the spreadsheet. It's how I track everything. So I don't want a system. I don't want Excel. I don't want QuickBooks. I don't want some thing else to charge me money to track my information. I have a simple Excel, a number spreadsheet on my Mac, which is free. And I put in the data and I still don't pay anything in taxes. That's all I need. Now, if you have 100 units or 150 units, maybe at that point, you look at the back end that Matt talks about. Omid. And my chat moved. Do you hire a professional photographer when marketing your rentals? I do not. I have enough demand, and I never took a professional photography course, but I've done a lot of research on what works and what doesn't. And I have C-class properties. I'm not trying to get top rents. I've done the research on which photos should be prominent. When I go to sell, so when I get back from Thailand, there's a chance, 99.7% chance, I'm going to sell my Port Orchard duplex. That will be a professional photographer to list those photos. I have the skills to get a rental because I get enough demand. Like I have to filter through demand now that I don't care about that. But when I go to sell, I'm going to want the most amount of money that I can get. So hire a pro for that. Mr. Nice Guy. Have you made a video on how to evict or avoid eviction? I know you mentioned getting them rental assistance. Luckily, I have not had an issue yet, but should probably get a fire drill in place. I don't know if I've made a video on that, but here's a couple quick thoughts. First, I retain an attorney. I give him $1,500, I don't know, a billion years ago, it feels like. I retain the attorney so that I have an eviction attorney on retainer. If I ever need one, I don't have to go out and find a bunch of money. I've got one sitting there. And uh, when I go have a tenant that's having issues, sure, you can help them get assistance. But I have the conversation when they ask to pay their rent late of the math of time, right? Explain that usually a tenant has 4 weeks to get their rent together for the next month. If we let you pay this month 1 week late, that means for next month, you're only going to have 3 weeks to get your rent together, and it will set you up into a spiral. So I really don't want to do that. The lease says you can't pay late. There'll be a late fee. And then if you're ever late, I'm going to serve you eviction papers that day and the day that after the grace period, so that you can go apply for assistance, right? That's what I tell them. So far they've all said, oh, that's great, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to pay the rent. But if somebody is in a situation where they have to pay rent late and you have to serve them the eviction because they're past the grace period, remember, you're doing this as a favor. They can't even talk to the assistance programs until they have the papers in their hands. So I've served eviction papers to Chesla's tenants, to my brother's tenants, to friends' tenants, right? So I'm fine on that. So if I had to do it, and here's how I do it with Chesla when she did it, because I went a decade without a rent. So I had the first bad tenant, and then after that, I don't think it was 10 years since I had a later missing rent payment, right? And I'm like, oh, it's easy, buy a rental, everything works out. Chesla buys a place. She had 4 evictions in the first like 14 months of owning her rental on the same unit. Like, so it can happen. I totally get it. So the $1,500 that I retain the attorney for, if you go to an attorney and you say, we're going through an eviction, I need to hire you, they're going to say, okay, give me $4,000 or give me $4,500, right? If the pricing could be different in each area, but in the Pacific Northwest, the quotes I got were $3,700 to $4,500. Don't do that. If you're going to serve the eviction paper so that they can go apply for assistance, so that they might decide to pay, or that they might just go, oh, yeah, actually serve me eviction papers, I'm just going to move out, right? You might solve your problem. It's rare to go through a full eviction. It's possible when you have 150 units like Matt, he's going to go through 3 or 4 a year. But when you have 18 or less units, like I've never seen one. Chesla, I think she had one go through to end, like of the 4, but the other ones, they all 3. You serve the papers, you go to your attorney, you say, I'm not going to hire you for an eviction. The $1,500 is a retainer for counseling. So the attorney charges you $350 an hour for counseling. So you go, all right, you type up an email and it says, here's the tenant's name, here's the address, here's the amount of the rent, here's how much they're late, here's my name, everything that you need, your address, and you send it all to them in information. You can actually do this with AI now and maybe even do it easier, but we use the attorney for Chesla. And I said, okay, send me a PDF copy of the pay or quit notice. And then you Google notice of serving and you have a friend serve it. So the attorney takes like 15 minutes to convert what you sent them into a thing. So $350 an hour, 15-minute block, you're charged that out of your $1,500. So you don't give them $4,000 to start an eviction. You just use a little bit of your counseling hours. Now, once you've served, if then it progresses into a full eviction, yeah, you go pay the attorney and you hire the attorney for a full eviction. You can represent yourself, depending on how good you are with your court system. Haven't had to go that far. Do a video from a rickshaw. You want me to do a video with a guy pedaling a bike? You could with all the running that you've been doing lately, but I'm not doing that to somebody. Remember, I'm a fat kid and I'm heavy to all around. The retirement mentality. I bought a house in Spain and my house in the US pay for my life. Not as cheap as Thailand, but cheaper than the US. So that's a really good way of looking at it. I went to Portugal, not this last time, the year before. I was there for 2 months. This year, I was there for 2 months as well. But the first time it was to go buy a house, right? I was thinking, okay, if you invest in Portugal, you can get the golden visa, which is now not a thing. But I was not really comfortable with how they bought or sold houses there. A lot of shady stuff was pitched to me by the people that I talked to. And it dawned on me that if I bought a place in the US and I earmarked it, like this is my healthcare duplex, this is my health insurance triplex, this is my vodka fourplex, this is now my travel duplex. Profit from that one duplex is about, I don't know, $2,500 a month. But I don't travel 12 months out of the year. Like I travel 6 to 9 months out of the year. So, but I have 12 months of say $2,000 a month. That's $24,000 a year to pay for the hotels, to pay for the Airbnbs, to pay for the housing when I'm here. So instead of buying a house, like in Spain, it's great. If you love Spain and you love it there, great. I like Portugal. I love Thailand. I love Colombia. I'm going to go some other countries, but I'm not tied to one. I don't own in Portugal. I don't own in Thailand. And if I owned in Thailand, let's say I bought in Phuket. Well, now I got the monsoon season. Instead, I can be in Chiang Mai while the rain works itself out. And then in like a week when it's done, next Thursday, I'm heading down to Phuket. So I can literally move around fully funded by the property that I bought in the US. But I was on the same boat as you. And I think if I'd gotten to Portugal and somebody said, I'm a licensed agent, we buy the property, we pay the taxes legally, I probably would have bought a property. I'd probably own in Portugal right now. But when I got to Portugal, you pay 4% for an unlicensed agent, you pay 5% for a licensed agent, and the seller tells the government what you paid for the property because they have to pay the taxes. So everything is fictitious and made up and cheating. And if somebody's going to get caught breaking the law, it would be me. So I'm not going to do that. So that got me to buy in the US instead. And my first and last BRRRR, which I'm probably selling next year. So it'll be a BRRRR live and flip. Deconstructing dreams. 2026 will be exciting. My 3-bed, 2-bath short term is doing great. Awesome. Currently building a 1-bed, 1-bath ADU at the property for a second unit to short-term rent. It should help to supercharge the cash flow. It sounds awesome. Sounds like a lot of work that will pay off. Love it. I'm way too lazy for that. So good job. Good job being not as lazy as me. The Riley Oak. Howdy. When do you talk to tenants that pay every month? Good problem to have. Do you do annual inspections upon renewal? Curious if you send out quarterly letters or text reminders. I don't do anything quarterly. Lease renewal generally is once a year. Some tenants are on every other year. So I got a tenant who pays on time all the time. He is in a duplex. His rent is $23.50. The mortgage is not that. Pays on time all the time. Zero problems. I think when he moves out, I'm going to have some work to do because he's done some interesting things in the unit, but I don't care because he lives there, not me. And I'll just take care of it when he moves out. I messaged him just before coming here saying, lease is up in, I think, April. So at some point between here and there, we're going to do an online lease just to kind of check in on lease renewal. And he is renewing. But that's the only communication I've had with him. Now, the other side of the unit, I had texts with, she pays on time too. She put something down the dishwasher and it melted the spinny arm. So I had a handyman go and take care of that. But yeah, no, that's like, so this is kind of a joke, but this is serious. I've had people ask me, what do you give your tenants for Christmas? Like, you give them a gift basket, you give them half a month off rent. And I'm like, no. I give them silence. I don't interact with them. Who wants to talk with their landlord in a holiday month? Now, if they have an issue, sure, I'll talk with him, but I'm not going to reach out to them. Good question. Love it. All-nighter hider. Oh man, the whole house water treatment systems are best for keeping faucets descaled by putting treated water through them. Knob and tube should be removed pretty much every time it's seen. There you go. So descaling must be a thing that's not a Northwest thing, maybe. Knob and tube. Okay. All right. Got it. And then my chat moved, which I appreciate. I don't think. Okay. I don't think there's any reflections. No, okay. You're good. Knob and tube is dangerous. Yes. So I have it there. I just don't have it hooked up. And then my chat, where did my chat move? Dang it. Brian builds wealth. If I tend to cash flow around 3,000 annually per property after everything, including reserves and PM, then it would take 80 properties to reach your level of 20K per month. What am I doing wrong? Okay. I think you're looking at it wrong. That's what you're doing wrong. You're not doing it wrong. You're looking at it wrong. So a property that cash flows $100 a month in year one is going to be $500, $600 a month by year 6 or 7, right? So it's like a 5x multiplier. The mortgage goes up. Insurance and taxes change, yeah, but my insurance doubled. It literally doubled. That's an extra $87 a month at one place. That doesn't impact me or bother me. So, uh, how long will you have to own a rental, right? The rental that I bought in 2021 is only producing $1,000 a month per unit. The rental that I purchased in 2013 is not, it's producing way more than $1,000 a unit. I average about $1,000. No, it's even more than that now. 17 units rented out, $21,000 in actual profit. So whatever that is, 1.2, something like that. One, I buy an expensive cost of living area. I specifically targeted a place where duplexes are hundreds of thousands of dollars, where Millennial Mike bought in Gary, Indiana, where my down payment was more than his purchase price, right? So he could buy all cash for less than my down payment. So he gets all the money. No interest goes to the bank, but he gets this much depreciation, this much opportunity for appreciation, this much rent, right? So he needs 27 units to get $7,000 a month in cash flow, where I have 17 units and I get over $20,000 a month in cash flow. And if I do nothing in like 5 years, it'll be $25,000 to $26,000 a month in cash flow. Thank you, rent control. It's awesome. I hate it for the tenants, but I don't mind money. So high cost of living area. I never did more than 25% down. I don't want to pay loans off. I did a one all cash purchase, probably my lowest performing asset. I have one paid off property. I would have made more money if I bought another property instead of paying it off. Like cost me $1 million. So I want leverage. I want the debt. I want the appreciation that comes from the bank's money. I want the depreciation that comes from mine and the bank's money. The binder strategy, get rents where they should be. Now that I have high reserves, I have a high deductible, $10,000 or more as my minimum deductible on every insurance policy, making my premiums less. Add a closet whenever you can to make a den into a bedroom, right? Have value add over time. What else have I done? Focus on the asset class in my market that makes sense. I want single family houses, none of them cash flow, so I don't own any. I own small multifamily. Now there's other areas where small multifamily aren't the best asset. Single family are better. So there's a lot of ways to make sure you get more cash flow from less units. All I have is fixed rate debt. Pay attention to interest rates. If they ever do come down, look at refinancing. Yeah, it'll be out of pocket cost to refinance. Who cares? We're talking about how to get your monthly cash flow higher. So, right, you're making $3,000 annually per property, and I have, yeah, at least 12. So, are you in a high cost of living area? How much debt do you have? If you're buying all cash, you're going to have really small cash flow. It's going to take you forever to get there. Melody Wright has predicted 19 of the last 0 crashes. So yeah, she's predicting a 50% crash right now. And I just made a video last week on I think it was 4 things that can cause housing prices to crash up. 50-year mortgage, interest rates coming down when Jay Powell leaves, remote work stabilizing. And there was a 4th one, I think. I forget what it was because that's how my memory works. But I see prices crashing up. We don't have a reason for prices to come down. We don't have 50% of people with adjustable rate loans. We have unemployment still is below 5%. Like it takes 10% to even impact things. We have all these people rate locked from 2020 and 2021 with 3% interest loans. We have 42% of houses in the United States are paid off. Crash in commercial, Melody Wright's 100% right. It's adjustable rates. Rates have tripled in the last 3 years. You have syndications putting money into bad deals. So if she's talking commercial, synergy. If she's talking residential, I'm going to use the R word. Sorry if you don't like it. She's retarded. And she keeps getting on channels because 50% crash gets views. And here's what the people don't realize. If it did crash 50%, you make more money buying a rental today and watching it crash down 50% than if you would if you wait to buy. And if you wait to buy, lenders disappear. And if you don't buy in an up market, you're definitely not going to buy in a down market. Like right now, how many people are jumping out there, Ryan? Are you putting another 10 grand into crypto because it just took a 20% haircut? This is your buying opportunity. I know Tesla did. She threw money at it. I'm like, yeah, it's a great time. It's on sale. It could drop to 0 next week, but it's on sale. So Melody Wright has cost people in the last 4 years hundreds, probably even millions of hundreds of thousands of dollars. You see comments in the chat where people say, "Thank you for your warning. My fiance almost talked me into buying a rental in 2021." And imagine if they had. Rents have doubled, interest rates had tripled, home values have gone up like 40%. Like they lost all that because she's been calling for a crash forever. Jay, you're not going to like my answer. Please stick around for it because I'm doing it to try to help you. What tips can you give when building your team? So David Green had your not fabulous four, your important four, whatever they were, lender, your broker, your contractor, your anything. I'm going to say it really slow for the kids in the back of the bus. Ready? I do not want a team. I want my lenders to not like me because they know I'm going to shop rates, but they let me compete their rates because they want my business. I don't want a property manager because they make more money than the owner of the property does. The person who says they only make this much because you have a property manager, they're probably making more money on your rentals than you are. I make, let's say I can get a property manager for 10%. I could probably negotiate less, but 10% when they have the up fees for everything. What's $35,000 a month? I'd be paying $3,500 a month to the property manager just for managing, not including everything else they could charge. But because the tenant turnover is worse, like I'll have a tenant turnover every 5 to 8 years at a property, maybe, or at a unit, maybe. But a property manager is trying to get one every year. Being short with tenants, just saying, hey, here's the new rent increase. If you want it, fine. If you don't, you can move out. Not the way I present it with the binder strategy. Even if the rent's staying the same, I still do the binder strategy so that the tenant knows they're getting a deal. So I don't want a property manager. I don't work with contractors. I'll manage handyman and like a contractor for a plumber or roofer or something like that. Sure, I'll hire him, but I don't want a general contractor. I don't want a guy. I don't want a team. And when it comes to handyman, the one thing that lets us travel and be with everything, I don't have a team. I have a list of at least 4 handymen. Because here's my definition of handyman. And Ryan, you're on this list. A handyman is somebody who doesn't want a boss. That's Ryan. Generally doesn't stick to a schedule, doesn't want to be there at a certain time. Like you don't mind working on your fishing boat because that could be 20 hours a day at work, but you don't want a set schedule. You don't want to have to wear a uniform. You don't want all of that stuff. But handyman either does what Ryan does or goes the other way. The skills get so good that they get hired for contractor stuff. Like Millennial Mike says, hey, Ryan, why don't you go to Gary, do the whole project on this thing? So your skills are so good, you become a contractor, which I wouldn't want to work with. Or the handyman that I've had, where the tenants go, that guy's great. This is not Ryan. This is somebody else. That guy's great when he's sober. And you're like, oh, that guy's life's spiraling out of control. So they go through a divorce. You don't lose them. You don't keep them anymore. So I don't have a team on my handyman side. What I have is a list, and they cycle through their windows of opportunity to be amazing. Right now, I have 2 that are really good, 2 that I can reach out to that sometimes answer. But I own a minimum of 4 that I'll hire from Thumbtack. And so I don't have a team. The recommendation is if you need a team, it's because you're doing flipping the BRRRR strategy where you need contractors on repeat. I don't do that. I did my first BRRRR after retiring. It's my last BRRRR. I don't want my lenders to like me. I won't use a PM. Even now that I'm not there very often, like we were in Portugal for months, now we're in Thailand for months, and then we're probably going to go maybe Scotland for the summer. We'll see. But we're, and not sure where we're going to be next year. The people who say you need a team have a reason that I don't have. I'm from Coach Carson's Small and Mighty Investor, right? I wanted the right amount of cash flow from the least amount of units. So I don't want a big property, so I don't need a team. So like I said, you might not like my answer, but if your goal is to have a portfolio my size where cash flow is closer to mine, you might not want a team too. You might want 4 handymen where one of them finds out you hired somebody else for a job. And I'm like, yeah, you didn't answer my text for like 3 hours. How long did you expect me to wait? Because I've got a list of people I'm going to call. You'll get the next job. Just answer the text. You get lenders who are like, oh, I don't want to give you a quote because you're going to shop rates. Fine. I won't use you at all then. And then they give you a quote. So you can go shop rates. Um, but are you doing a strategy where you need a property manager, investing at a distance, or you have you wear your heart on your sleeve and you know tenants would walk all over you? Do you have a justifiable reason to need a property manager? That exists too. Uh, are you doing flipping and burr and all of those creative strategies where you want contractors that you develop relationships with over time? That's not me. Deconstructing dreams. And time helps increase the cash flow. So it's time. Yeah. How long have you owned it? So, and I talk about that often. A lot of people go, and I think it was, had the thought, but it went away. Somebody says, I need $1,000 a month in cash flow. I get $200 a month per rental. So if I bought 5 rentals, I got $200 a month times 5. I'll make $1,000 a month. No, I bought one in 2013. So I've owned it for 12 years. One in 2015, 10 years, 2018, whatever, like however long it is, it's how long have you owned that one rental? So you said you're getting 3,000 a year per property. Did you buy them all at once? Did you pull a financial firefighter and empty out all your retirement accounts and buy 14 in 1 year? So yeah, they're all going to kind of track the same. But if you bought one or two a year and then one or two a year and over 3 years, you've got a 3-year gap between how those properties are going to perform. Delver, Pud Delver. How can you reach real estate professional status while only having long-term rentals and maintaining a W-2? You are not going to. You could have a spouse, like the lumberjack landlord had a W-2. I believe he had all long-term rentals. I don't think he had any short-term. But his spouse qualified as a real estate professional, so they were able to do things like a cost segregation study. But most of the CPAs that I've interacted with said if you have a W-2, no matter what, without short-term rentals, you are not going to qualify as a rental professional, even if you are a real estate agent, because you have to hit two criteria that most people aren't going to. First one's challenging. It's 751 hours working in real estate. Maybe you can lie and cook the books and say you manage your properties for that much. I work 24 hours a year in real estate. So no, that's not going to work for me. 751 is not in a month. But the second thing is you have to work more in real estate than you do in your W-2. I paid a crap ton of money my last few years at my W-2 job in W-2 taxes because I don't do short-term rentals. I'm not dumb enough to have a spouse that could be a real estate professional. I mean, I'm not married. So could your spouse qualify? Could you convert some of them to short-term rentals? Or how long will you just pay taxes until you reach financial freedom so you can get out of that? Brian builds wealth. Wayne Wong, howdy, nice to see you. Deconstructing dreams. It's just hard to understand how it will change so much. Even if it doubles, I'd need 40. Still going all in, but it's part of this hard for me to understand. It's the hockey stick growth. I've got the images, I can put them up if you want them, but it's, you expect it to go like this. It doesn't. It goes like this. For the first 3 or 4 years, I was making less than $1,000 a month on all my rentals. Year 6, I think I wasn't even making 2,000 yet. But at year 8, you negotiate a better price on insurance. You're hitting insurance on multiple properties. You do the binder strategy, you're hitting multiple properties. You have more chances to turn a den into a closet or into a bedroom by adding a closet. You have more opportunities for those value add things. You have more tenant turnover. Like it's how many levers can you pull in the first 5 years when you only have 3 or 4 levers? It's not that easy. There's not that many things you can do. Charles McCune, your brother David seems to do well with his slow build. When would you advise his method? So he did it over a period of, I think he was 21 and retired at 50. So what is that? 29 years? He wasn't doing it with the intent of retiring. He was just buying rentals, just on the side. His slow build method works great. He was running a tree service. His goal was that his son or his daughter, one of them, his kids, would take over his tree service. The only reason he retired at 50 is it dawned on him neither one of them was going to. They both grew up hating tree services the way I do. So they didn't want it. His son went and became a truck driver, and his daughter went off and got her own career. So he shut down the business and retired on his rental income. It's kind of like an accident that he did it. If you have the handyman skills to do the value add builds that he did, his method is great. If you hate debt, his method is great. We've made many jokes. Around 2020, our net worth was almost identical. It was around a million. He hit the $1 million net worth. I was just passing into the $1 million net worth. Then he went 4 years later. We both did a net worth study. He went up 40%. So he's 1.4 million. I went up 400%. But no, it's like 320. It was 400 was together. We worked with that much because of leverage. He doesn't have leverage. I gained the 40% or so appreciation on the bank's money, which tripled my net worth growth compared to his. So do I recommend his method? If you're debt averse, and I'm saying this, I say this to his face too, it means he doesn't have the intellect to understand debt. There's no way I would ever have the words or videos or enough drugs to get him to understand inflation-based debt destruction, or the fact that depreciation can be based on the amount that the bank lends you to buy the buildings on your properties too. So I don't recommend his thing unless you're just like him and you don't mind taking 30 years to do it, because it was 29, and then you retire on accident. And you can live on half the cash flow that I do, which he can. His lifestyle is not very extravagant. Wait till he meets a girl, though. The Riley Oak. Do you include any utilities in your rent or have preferences? So I've got some properties where the water has to be billed to the owner. So I back bill tenants or I flat rate tenants. Find out if you're allowed to in your market. Sometimes you have to back bill. You have to go literally, here's an image of what they charge me. This is your bill. Other times in my state, you can flat rate charge, which is just a little bit above where it averages, so that in the summer when the water spikes, I don't charge extra for that. I would not do electric in my name at any rental. If I bought a place and it wasn't separately metered, I would pay to have it separately metered. At the time that becomes a problem was people go to buy something that wasn't permitted. And they're like, oh, if I go to put meters in here, then that's going to tell the county, look, there's an ADU here. You should come and fine me for it, or make me scrape it like Zuber had to. He had to scrape an ADU because it wasn't a legal build. So yeah, it can be a problem. But if you buy a place that is permitted but not separately metered, I would get estimates on putting in separate meters. You don't want that phone call when the tenant says, hey, come on over anytime, the door's wide open, and they got the heater on or the cooler on, and you're paying for it. So no utilities. Section 8 tenants, Section 8 counselor told me you can't bill a tenant for the water, because this was one where the tenants could pay water. But they go, but you can raise the rent that amount. So we did. So, and that was actually recommended by the counselor working for the Housing Authority. Duke Kidman, do you recommend finding a real estate friendly tax advisor to help prevent not paying taxes? Can you speak on that topic more? I do not recommend. I require. The moment you have a rental property, I don't know if it's you start saving, but once you're closing on a rental property, hire a pro. There are different types. I thought the bird was coming in the room. There are different types of depreciation. I don't even want to know what they are. That amortized, scheduled, bonus, blah, 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 blah. No, hire a pro. Just like I don't want to know what a California weave is on my roof. I want the roofer to do what is required to make my roof look right. I hire a roofer for that. Make sure they have the right insurance. But you hire a CPA right from the get-go, one rental. I don't care if you think you can do it yourself. The depreciation, I want it done right. You don't know what you're going to do in 3 or 4 years. You might go to do a cost segregation study. You might go to do a sale, and all of that needs to be done right. So I recommend right off the bat doing that. I got one in Alaska. I don't care what state they're in. If you're in a state that has income tax, maybe you would have it in that state. I'm in Washington where there is no R, but there is also no income tax currently. See what they do. And my CPA is the only one I've ever met that's like, we're good. We don't want any more business. So I can't recommend him to anybody. But here in the one rental at a time community, we use Maine bean counters. People have recommended them. But yeah, no, you want that right off the bat because you want to make sure your taxes are done right. You'd be surprised at how many people change from their CPA to a, like you said, real estate friendly CPA and have their last couple of years redone because they weren't done right. So even if the tax pros aren't doing it right, get you a tax pro that understands rental taxes. So great question. Require it. Uh, Chippy, how do you decide when to sell a property? I have never sold one. So let me tell you a couple of the reasons why I'm selling this one. Um, I bought it as a retirement place. It's on the water, right? I can walk down to the ferries and have lunch in Seattle, but I don't live within a couple of hours of Seattle. I can take the ferry there. Uh, I can walk to all the, I say restaurants, but it's all the bars I want to go to that are close around my house, all the hiking trails. I bought this as a quality of life, not as much as an investment, right? So that's why it doesn't matter to me as an investment. Now it is a duplex. There's a tenant there right now that literally went and took an Amazon package that showed up the day after we left and to hold it till we get back, but and can watch the place. Will tell me if there's a leak. Will tell me if there's a problem. Tell me if there's a break-in. I got the camera. I got the Arlo system cameras going too. But I mean, I also have a tenant on place. That's why I wanted a small multifamily that I live in. I don't have a housing cost. I still travel. Um, I paid 4 for it. It'll sell for around 7-ish. I'm counting on 6, but it'll probably be around 7. Could sell for more. We'll see. Uh, I put around 60 something into it. So I'm going to make a decent amount of money. So that's a motivating thing. I'm going to make a decent amount of money. It's the IRS 121 rule. I occupy 50% of the property. So on that side, up to $250,000 in gains is not taxed at all. I could 1031 the other side. I might just pay it. We'll see, because I don't like the restrictions of the 1031. Maybe I might do a reverse 1031. That's an option too, to avoid those taxes. But most of my properties are closer than an hour to all of them. This one is more than an hour from about half of them. So it's further out. And it's on the other side of what we call the bridge. So in Washington, we have the Pacific Northwest, but then you have the peninsula. And the peninsula is on the other side of what is the Narrows Bridge. So through Tacoma across the Narrows Bridge. On the outside, my side where I live now, side of the Narrows Bridge, really hard to find contractors, handymen, plumbers, electricians. There's even Thumbtack struggles there. It's my only rental where I pay travel time for my handyman to come to from where my other units are at. So it's fine. It's just an extra expense. But my dealings with the city and getting the permits done and them seeing a Marine Corps flag up there, thinking it was a Trump flag, and then attacking me for things that were done 8 years before I purchased the property, put a bad taste in my mouth for the entire city. So I'll make a bunch of money. It's closer to my kids, to my properties, if I sell and buy something else. And all of that put together means it's probably the first property I'm going to sell. If I had a big portfolio and I had one property that had a bunch of turnover all the time, like Chesla's property, she had those 4 evictions in the first like 14 months, and then it's been pretty stable. If she continued to have like an eviction every other year or so, I would tell her we should sell that property. You should lose that thing. But it's stabilized. So now I would keep it. Matt had a triplex, he said, that was like 80% of all of his hassle, so he sold it. So it's not always about the numbers. It's about the quality of life. I have a single family house, my only one. It's paid off, rented to a Section 8 tenant for $3,000 a month. We did one thing at her property in the last 12 months. There was a door to replace a door. I have a video because somehow this door that they swear they didn't break had the hinges on backwards so it wouldn't shut. I have a video of the hinges on backwards on a door that they didn't touch. But one thing, it's a dialed-in tenant. That is trapped dead equity. If I sold it and I went and bought something else, I would make more money. So should I mathematically sell it and buy something else? Yes. But do I have a dialed-in tenant that I hardly ever, I've had one thing at the property since like 2022, probably. Not going to mess with it. It's also the house I kept through the divorce. So there's a little petty part of me going, nope, I still keep it. So there's more than math. There's a bunch of angles to look at there. You know, like 3D chess that she said she played with him. Play 4D chess. There's a bunch of angles to this. And then my chat moved, which I appreciate. Got about 15 minutes left. And then we got the course call in a half an hour. That was a great question. When to decide how to sell a property? That's almost a standalone video. Julie, howdy. Are you going to 1031 that property when you sell it? There you go. Just answer that. Not sure. Selling is generally culling the portfolio, the worst case scenario. Exactly. Thin the herd. It's my alcohol theory. The reason you drink alcohol, Like the buffalo travel across the field and the predators come and they take the weaker buffalo, the ones that get old or the ones that are weaker, and it thins the herd to where the best genetics survive. Alcohol kills brain cells in the same way. It takes out the weakest ones. So make sure you're drinking enough to have your best brain. Omid, I inherited a tenant with a property. He was paying $1,200 rent, used the binder strategy, and the tenant asked for $1,500. I would have been happy with $1,400. Thank you. Congratulations. Not only do you have $1,500, but you have a happy tenant who knows what they could be paying if they moved. So congratulations. Good job. Oh, yeah. Not to mention the tenant is happy. And then Delroy Samuels took back a message to make me lose sleep and wonder forever and ever what was said. Brian, congrats. Good job. What's an ADU? I'm new here. Welcome, Kelly. An ADU is basically two houses on one property and many versions of it. So it can be somebody that says, I live in a split level house. We divided the bottom house into like the basement is built out into an apartment, or it can be a junior ADU that's attached. It can be a detached ADU. And we never know what the listing agent is going to call it. So if you look for this, think of like a duplex, right? The duplex, triplex, or fourplex, those are called small multifamily. But an ADU is truly a single family house that has a second unit. Now it can be two full houses. I own a house with an ADU. I don't know really which one is the ADU. Actually, I think I found out, but it's got a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, and then a duplex, 2-bedroom, 1-bath each side. One of those is an ADU. And I probably won't remember this, but I remember seeing this recently on a septic survey or something. There was a house that they built the duplex on, and then they added a garage, which was then converted to a house. So half of the duplex was the house. So an ADU is an auxiliary dwelling unit or an accessory dwelling unit, depending on which part of the country you live in when people call it something. So you don't call ADU, DADU, JADU, accessory, auxiliary, granny flat, mother-in-law house, something like that. It is often missed by most investors because people put in the search, I want a duplex, triplex, fourplex, small multifamily, or they put in, I want a single family house, because home buyers don't want the ADU. They're not looking to buy a place with tenants. And investors forget sometimes to search for those other names. Delroy, any tips for refinancing for 2026? I would love to refinance 3 properties and remove some PMI. This will increase cash flow, a minimum of 1,500. So the PMI might insurance. So watch rates, shop rates, take an email of what each place is offering you and send them to the other lenders. Openly compete them with each other and say, can you beat this? How much does it cost to buy down the rate? They can not always compete the interest rate. Sometimes your lender might remove mortgage insurance before you even hit the full equity amount too, that you're often required. So shop rates. Also contact your insurance companies, because since you're looking at increasing cash flow. Do you have enough reserves now to raise your deductibles? Can you shop insurance? Zuber has a Steadily to give you quotes on rentals to see if you can get a better rate. Any tips on refinancing? Yeah, definitely don't go with just one lender. The first one you go with might be the one you choose and might be the best one to have. But when they know they're competing with others, they might even offer something better. Let me know how that goes. Omid, I think you misunderstood my intent from descaling. A cast iron sewer line, after decades, we use some form of scale to enter. Yeah, we don't have cast iron where I'm at. Or if I did, in the one place I did, we replaced it. So that might be a reason why I'm not having it where I'm at. It must be East Coast, maybe? Removes the scale from the inside sewer line. Yeah, I've not done that. Nice. That's much more common in Northeast where I am. There you go. What's a healthy loan to value to be in when growing? Ian, howdy. What I liked in growth mode, so there's several modes to this. There's like, I'm in research mode. I'm not going to make any moves yet, no matter how good a deal looks when I look at it, because I have to educate myself. Then there's you're buying rentals, you're improving, you're stabilizing, you're letting time do its thing so you can have reserves and better cash flow. And then you're in, I've got my systems. I know how to buy every deal that comes across that I can buy. And then you're in relax mode. So in growth mode, my target goal was 70% loan to value. Now, I overshot it at the beginning because I did a 5% down purchase of a duplex. So that one was 95% levered for the first little bit, right? I don't make extra payments or anything. But then the next one was a 20% down, and then a 25% down, and then a 20% down, and then a 25% down. And so I was always 20 or 25% and then all cash. So in growth mode, I wanted 70%. So if Rents dropped. I'm still making money. Like with 70% loan to value, I still had enough cash flow to have rents go down because they can go down. Historically, market wide, they've never gone down since 1940 when we started tracking the data. You can look that up. But local markets can dip. So yours can go down. In retirement, when you lose the safety from that drug that kills your dreams, the paycheck, as I sneeze my head off, in retirement, my target goal is 50% loan to value. I'm below 1.5 million in debt. Gross value is around 7.5. I haven't done a recent study. Might have even gone down. Who knows what's going on with real estate? Because I don't care about long term. I don't care about appreciation. It's just an accidental byproduct. So I'm way below 50%. So my next purchase is actually going to be a VA loan, 100% levered. I'm going to bring me closer to the 50% loan to value of the whole portfolio. So it's not per property, it's per portfolio. Dan, you've got one cast iron. I'm keeping an eye on it for rust and probably going to replace it with PVC. There you go. That is right. The place we're in, no, it was the one before that. I did pull out one old metal pipe. Wealth with Rentals, howdy. Thank you. I will. Does cost quite a bit. There you go. There we go. Then my chat goes. Let me see if I can get through the questions here. Amazon Dion Schlag locks on sale for 109. They were just on sale for 89, and I sent that link to a few people. So if you want to grab 4, when they went to 89, I grabbed 4 of them. So the Schlag coated locks for the rentals. Danny, I feel the pain. Should last a long time once the cast iron is all out. I think it was around 10 to 50,000 to get most of it out. Hours. Might pay an extra 5K to get this last section out. That sounds expensive, but if it gets rid of an ongoing cost too. We don't hear you complaining about anything we complain about. Do you not have any vacancies, for example, or anything that sucked recently? My longest vacancy was 4 days. The challenge was to get everything done while the tenant was out. My 2 tenant turnovers that I had, tenants said they were moving out. One bought a house, paid the month's rent, was gone by like on the 5th. So while it was empty and I can get everything done at that place, there was no actual vacancy, and it was rented the day that it was available. The things I complain about. People are stupid, whether they're tenants or contractors. You get dumb things. Like I said, the one tenant just let something slip in the dishwasher and melted the little spinny arm. Put the hinges on backwards on a door. Like I have those things. I do have a tenant. No, they moved. I had tenants that used to call every now and then and go, "Can we pay the rent late? We have this issue." And I would absolutely time, give them the same speech every time they would decide to pay it on time. They are the ones that moved out and left the place a mess. And I spent like $9,000. And I had the whole video where I went in. So I had the same complaints you did. This was one though, where they paid that month and then moved out. And I had like 3 weeks to get everything done. It was $9,000 worth of work. I probably spent 7. Would have gone 9 if I hired a painter, but never hire a painter. There's the Dionism. Exterior with a ladder, yeah, maybe I'd hire a painter. But interior, you hire a handyman and you pay them per day. And you talk in advance. How many days will it take you to do this? 1 day or 2 days? Oh, it's a 2-day job. Okay, cool. $400 a day. It's an $800 job. You want it? Yes or no? Whereas a painter would come in and say $4,200. So did I complain about that? Did I complain about the tenants who stole the electric? The dryer plug was gone. The stove plug was gone. Some of the breakers were gone. Like this was an electrician that was taking things out of the house and using them at job sites. No, I didn't complain. I did the math. Tenant was there 5 years while I owned it. They were in the property before I bought it. I didn't get to vet them. I never would have rented to them. Their credit score wasn't good. Their work consistency wasn't. He didn't have a job at the time. Like there was a bunch of reasons why I wouldn't have rented to them. The way the house looked, I wouldn't have rented to them. Smelled, yes. 5 years, $2,000 a month in rent. Scaled a little bit up as time went. 15% of that was set aside for repairs, maintenance, and vacancy. I had about 13 grand of their money beyond the profit that I made from them to fix that when they moved out. The discipline is important when you have rent come in. I set aside 15% for repairs, maintenance, and vacancy. And of my gross rents right now, it's about 5,000 a month, but I put $5,150 a month into an account. It's a cop joke. It's 5150 is for crazy people. Uh, I've ne I hardly I've never spent 60 grand in a year, which is what that is. I've spent more than 5 grand in a month, but my worst year was like 60,000, no, 38,000 or something like that. It was like 38,000 of the 60. So I didn't complain. When I first started, I would have complained about that. I would have been like, oh, this tenant treated my place so bad. But no, I just expect them to. I expect to find holes in drywall. I expect to find problems. And when they don't happen, I made more money. So maybe I should make more complaint videos. How do you combat higher property taxes on your rentals? The tenants pay the taxes, not me. Rents go up. That's one of the main expenses that goes up is property taxes, but rents go up because of that. And that drives up the area average. So every time a landlord around me has a tenant turnover, they push the rents up because their expenses went up too. So it may be a lag effect. I might have a year or two where I don't cash flow as much because property taxes went up, but then I do. And you use that as an excuse. You tell your tenants, look what happened to your property taxes. This is what's in your rent. Then they put rent control in Washington state. So now I'm forced to do a 7% increase every year with all my tenants. And I wasn't doing that. I was doing 5% every other year. And that was keeping up with property taxes going up, insurance going up. When we had a black swan event, I could do a big adjustment like, in 2021 after the pandemic. But now that I can't do a big adjustment, I have to do the 7% every year. It sucks. I'm going to make so much more money. Alex, howdy, good to see you there. I saw the best deal in my market that I've seen since I've been looking. It was on the market for between 1 and 2 weeks. It sucked being and saving time out. We talked about that exact scenario in a members only about 3 months ago when you were looking at buying the place you're in now. And you said, what would happen if I buy this place, I deploy my funds, and then a great deal pops up? And I said, I guarantee that it will. That's how it works. See you, Jason. Thank you, Tim. Techie, do you think you would have gotten into real estate if you didn't get a divorce? No. I also wouldn't have gotten into real estate if I didn't get laid off from law enforcement. Success is a prison. I would have been middle class eventually, lower middle class, cop wages. But success is a prison, and people spend too much time decorating their cell instead of using their job as a key to get the F out. If I didn't get divorced, I think she would have pulled off the debt spiral into the millions instead of just the hundreds of thousands. So no, I wouldn't got him into real estate. Kelly, thanks. I have a duplex, currently live in one side. I want to make the basement a rental unit into a separate apartment. Would this be considered an ADU? It could be considered a triplex at that point. And it depends on, can you get it metered? How is the permit process? I don't recommend doing anything without permits, even though cities are terrible to work with. And the reason why I want to move out of the city that I did the one in. But there are some areas where if a tenant finds out they're residing in an unpermitted area, you might have to remunerate them for every penny of rent you've ever received. So do it legally. There are some gray area things that I do. There are some gray area things that I talk about in my course that I wouldn't put on YouTube, but unpermitted living areas is not one of them. Have I done work without permits? Can I say this on YouTube? Every day. I'm not pulling a permit unless it's going to be visible from the road or it's going to create square footage that can be considered a living area. But if some stupid city says, if you have a bigger dent in your drywall than 24 inches, you have to pull a permit to repair it. No. Lake Hood, Washington can suck it. Finally caught a live stream. Appreciate that, YouTube. Thank you. Will there be an audio version of your book? Yes, it is completely recorded. I am done recording it. I don't know if you would hear it if I played any of it. We're about to wrap up this video. And so where would it be if I played recording of the book? That is not it. It's the book. This is the Audible version. Just grab section 8. And play? It is not playing. It won't do it while I'm in Zoom. That's weird. Why not?
Chapter 4.
Oh, there we go. Too loud.
Actionable lessons. All right, here we go. This is the part of the book that'll probably end up with more dog-eared pages and coffee stains than any other. At least that's the plan. I'm not here to give you a pep talk or sell you a dream.
Couldn't figure out how to turn it off, though. There we go. Well, there you go. So the book is done. Now I'm going to fight ACX. They are the company that runs Audible, that puts Audible out. And so it's very picky. Recording the one rental at a time book took me forever, but getting it up onto ACX took like months. So I'm working on it. I would guess another month or two, but it'll be out there. And there you go. And this, Ian, is the most common question I get every time I come to Thailand. My daughter says this, my friend said, now my daughter lives with a lady that was born a biological man. And she even made the joke. But here's your question as I'm wrapping up the video. So if there's any kids in the background, good time to dip out. Ian asks, what's your favorite ladyboy place out there? Since we've been in Thailand, we've seen one guy who wore makeup. If you go to Pattaya, you will find some people who are the ladyboys, but they're very clear about it, and they tell you up front. But I haven't seen any. They're not in Chiang Mai. They're not in Phuket. They're not in the parts of, they might be on Khao San Road if you go in Bangkok, but they're not where I'm at. That's a very common joke, but it's not the experience. When you get a massage, it is $6 per person that is massaging you per hour. There's your price. And then you throw in a tip, make it $9 or whatever. But no. Thanks for hanging out with me, everybody who's in the course. I will see you in 15 minutes. Have a week full of amazing. I will still try to put out a video on Thursday and Saturday, and I will have a live stream next Tuesday at 4 p.m. Pacific. And last question. Have you seen how much Coach Carson has been dropping his rent to get them filled? Holy flying cows. Depends on what market you're in. In my market, so I talk about it all the time. Rents have never market-wide gone down, but regionally they can. You have massive builds come online. Apartment complexes can come down. Class A can come down, sure. But local areas, like when the dot-com crash hit Silicon Valley or the cars moved away from Detroit, yeah, rents can tank in a local market. In Washington, I guess if Mount Rainier went off, if Boeing moved out, if Amazon moved out, if Microsoft moved out, if JBLM closed, you had a BRAC meeting and it was closed, yeah, rents can go down. But then this is one of the reasons why I invest in blue states. The red tape is so thick, they actually just added rent control, which made all rents go up again. My rents are up 10% year over year without even trying. So yeah, I was watching Coach Carson's, and you got to know your local market. Don't be over levered. Don't run thin margins. Everybody talks about $100 a month in cash flow. No. Focus on cash flow, sure, but do you have rentals that are going to keep a property tenant in place? Do you have pet-friendly fence charge? Do you have washer-dryer hookups? Do you have enough parking? Is it in a safe enough neighborhood? Like, that matters more to me than math. Then go with the math and make sure you could handle rents coming down without having to go back to work. Ciao.